Well, as COVID-19 cases continues to rise in South Africa, the plight of people with disabilities and visually impaired learners have come into focus. There have been renewed calls for learners across the country, including those in special needs schools, to be adequately supported before they can return to schools. It's for this reason that the Transport Education Training Authority, one of the 21 Setas tasked with facilitating skills development and training, visited a special needs school in Limpopo yesterday. Rivoni School for the blind is well known for its matric pass rate, recording between 80 and 100% matric pass rate since 2011. Joining us now to talk more about yesterday's school readiness visit is the Transport Education Training Authority CEO, Maphefo, Anno Frempong, via Skype from Johannesburg. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Good morning. Thank you for the time.
So let's start off at the beginning in terms of what made you go and visit this school in particular.
We as TETA have adopted 55 schools, and we play a complementary role to the Department of Basic Education. And what we did with Rivoni, we realized it being a school for the visually impaired, they might have need for COVID-19 essential items, as well as learning devices that could assist those learners that are doing matric this year that might need to be in self-quarantine. So we went there to really give them COVID relief support. So
what were some of your findings?
We found that with visually impaired learners, for an example, they need to touch surfaces much more than the COVID-19 regulations allow. So we then brought extra sanitizers. We got them screening equipment. We got them face shields. And we realized when we got to the school that the school complies with COVID-19 regulations, and they appreciated the extra support they were getting from the TETA.
Yeah, you know, something that's very interesting, and I was having a conversation yesterday with somebody that is hearing impaired, and he was telling me about some of the difficulties he has when, you know, trying to read lips, for instance, and the masks that we now use that is preventing that. How can we get over that in terms of this challenge? Because a lot of hearing impaired people do tend to read lips, but they can't because of these masks. What can be done in order to solve this problem?
I think for those that are hearing impaired, we would have to find masks that are quite transparent at the mouth. So that when you put on a shield or a mask, at least they can see and still liberate without them getting exposed to the virus.
So talk to us about resources. Very important in order to cope and try to overcome some of the issues that present itself when dealing with COVID-19. What are some of the issues? What are some of the resources needed from the school?
For the Rivoni School for the Blind, one of the key resources that actually made us have an engagement with them and adopt them as one of the school was to get them white canes for them to be able to be independent.
Right.
The key need for the school is to get the learners to be independent without being given support so that they can walk on their own. So they needed canes. We gave them canes first. That was in 2015. And then the following 3 years, they then requested that we give them a braille embosser or a printing machine in order for them to be able to print and make copies of the learning material for each and every learner. So we gave them an embosser, a printing machine for the braille, and then yesterday we brought them learning devices. We got them iPad tablets for 22 matriculants, and those iPad tablets are loaded with the curriculum that is currently being taught at school, but they are meant specifically for the visually impaired. Over and above the learning devices we gave them, we got them face shields. We gave about 70 face shields for the teachers and for the grade 12s for now. And then we also got them sanitizers. We got them thermometers. We gave 8 thermometers to the school just to avoid queuing for one thermometer machine in case they have one thermometer machine. So it was not only Rivoni that we were given this essential items, but we started at Rivoni, and there are about 7 schools in Limpopo that will get the same essential items.
All necessary in order to cope with COVID-19. Some would call it COVID kindness. That's something that you guys are doing. I want to learn more about your SETA, the Transport Education Training Authority. What's your mandate?
Our mandate is to facilitate skills development in the transport sector. We've got 8 subsectors for the transport sector, ranging from the road mode, being rail, being road freight, or road passenger, which are the buses, and forwarding and clearing. We also have a subsector that deals with the training of people in the taxi industry. And then we also have a maritime sector, the aerospace sector, as well as the sector that focuses on warehousing. So in total, the transport sector from a skills perspective is divided into 8 subsectors. And our role is to work with private industry, work with government, work with institutions of higher learning, be it TVET colleges, universities, as well as private providers and artisan training schools, to make sure that whatever the need is for current workforce or prospective workforce in the transport sector, that they get the skills that they need.
You know, persons with disabilities generally have more health needs than others, and what I guess compounds the situation is COVID-19. How can we best support persons with disabilities during this time, especially during lockdown?
I think we can always provide whatever support we can from every institution that we are coming from. Even individually and personally, we can really be a helping hand to those that have got impairments in whatever form or shape. When we thought of Rivoni, we thought even though the Department of Education might have given them all of the necessary COVID-19 essentials, they need more than your ordinary school, and therefore we felt our complementary support would go a great deal to make them know they matter and they are important like any other South African. So their impairments should never be an obstacle for them to get effective learning.
We thank you very much indeed for coming on and explaining the work that you guys are doing, important work on the ground in order to help those cope with COVID-19. Appreciate your time. Be well.
Thank you so much.
All right, that was Transport Education Training Authority CEO Maphefo Anno Frempong talking to us about their visit to Rivoni School for the Blind and challenges facing visually impaired learners.